Sure. Welcome back to 310 to Left, brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F Series, America's best-selling truck for 48 years, and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. I am not your usual host, Tom Karen. TC is either on a plane, dipping his toes in the Pacific Ocean, or asleep, all of the above. Hopefully not all of the above at the same time, while getting ready to work at Sunrays this weekend. So I'm your fill-in host, Alex Spear of the Boston Globe, and funny enough, this week's episode of 310 to Left was supposed to feature a great special guest interview with Roman Anthony. We had set up the interview to take place on Wednesday afternoon. However, various events interceded to make it so that Tom Karen and I could not talk to Roman Anthony for 310 to Left for this week's episode, because Roman Anthony was busy holding a press conference to announce that he and the Red Sox had agreed to an 8-year, $130 million extension that's going to run from the 2026 through 2033 seasons, with a team option 2034 at another $30 million. There are escalators to the deal that could push the value up considerably, depending on what happens with Roman Anthony in Rookie of the Year balloting, MVP balloting, All-Star selections, all of that sort of stuff. So it's a lot. It's a lot for the Red Sox to have made this commitment. It's a lot for Anthony to have performed in a way that convinced them to. So we're going to take a lot of stock of that today. And in order to do so, I'm going to be bringing in my good friend and our guest this week, Julian McWilliams of CBS Sportsline. He'll be joining us right now. Julian, how's it going? And have you signed any long-term extensions in the last 24 hours?
I wish. I did not. I mean, look, me and Jamire out here at the National Association of Journalists, and we're like, wow, yeah, we try to negotiate an extra $15,000. This guy's signed for $130 million. He's 21 years old. So it's pretty amazing when you actually think about it. When we take away, do that, this and that, like it's $130 million.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Although, like the amazing, it's not just amazing in its own right. It is amazing because you can make a case that Roman Anthony left a lot of money on the table in doing this, right? Like if he is the player who there's a lot of reason to think that he's going to be very, very good for a very long time. No guarantees, right? Like we're still waiting to see some different things arrive, and including, when will he tap into power? There's plenty of time for that to happen. He has plenty of strength. There's plenty of power. He has a great baseline of being a guy who's on base at, I think a .392 on base percentage to this point here. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Like he's already signing for $130 million guaranteed. There are people who are like, he's leaving hundreds of millions on the table. Think about talent that's necessary to make that claim. Julian, what have you learned about Roman Anthony and his 2 months up in the big leagues?
Alex, I think for me, it's him belonging. Right, I feel like he has this really, really good sense of self. It seems like probably more than I've seen with like any 21-year-old. When you talk to him, he always says, "Yeah, there's never been a point where I really felt overmatched in the bigs." And I don't know if that's going to change or not. But the fact that he has just the confidence to say that, and it's not it's not like cockiness or arrogance or anything. It's sort of self-assurance. And I think that's the way I can describe when you see him in the clubhouse. It seems like he occupies his space, but he doesn't get anybody's way. And I think that's the most thing that stands out to me. We always talk about like the slow heats. He seems to have that. Doesn't seem to change at all from pitch to pitch, even from play to play in the field. I think, and the thing that stood out to me also is like some of his running. I think he's a really good base runner while he takes extra bags. I think there was a time I saw him score from first to home. So overall, I think it's just a kid that's mature beyond his years, it seems like.
Yeah, I think, I actually think that like there's almost like a drinking game that can be played, because if you refer to, to hear the word mature used about Roman Anthony is such a constant of every description. Like it almost became laughable to the point where before the All-Star game, before the All-Star break, I started asking people, including Roman Anthony, like, is he ever immature? Like, is he, as a 21-year-old, has he ever permitted himself? Does he permit himself to just be a 21-year-old? It's unusual, and he talks about it, right? He talks about being the youngest sibling in a family with, the youngest sibling in a family, having always played. He kind of reclassified to be on a more aggressive development track. So he's always been playing against older competition. Meant that he always kind of had to mature quickly in order to fit in. But he assured me, and Marcelo Meyer, his longtime roommate, assured me that he is capable of goofing off and of being kind of a 21-year-old. But it was really funny for me because, like, he talked about how in order to anchor himself, he'll call his friends from high school who are now in college, right? They're college juniors. Wow. This would have been Roman Anthony's junior season, his draft season of college, and instead he's in the big leagues right now because the Red Sox took him in the second round of the 2022 draft, and he has followed this meteoric path. But he's like, yeah, I'd like to run it and just figure out, what's college like for you guys? Like, how's, what's that like? And I'm sure that they must be, dude, like, we have a lot more questions for you.
Yeah, it's like I can't being like when you put it like that, just in that perspective, like he would be a junior in college and he has friends that are in college. Like you sort of back and you're like, well, what would I be doing? I was like, I would probably be going out to a bar at, I don't know, at 1 a.m. or something like that, or stumbling back to my dorm room. I don't know. It just seems like that's the thing to do. Either way, he's like up there hitting 94-mile-per-hour sinkers from Framber Valdez off the Green Monster. I think that's a pretty good trade-off. I think I'd take that one.
Well, I mean, it is, obviously there are a lot of things that have been pretty remarkable about him. And I think that your way of putting it, that, he occupies his space without getting in anyone's way. There's a sense of belonging he has at this point in the big leagues. Like, I haven't a lot, right? Like I've been watching guys coming up for a time in the Red Sox system. I've been covering the 2002. For me, the only other player who comes to mind in terms of so naturally, seemingly, like, to fit with veterans around him, and immediately having something of a presence is maybe Xander Bogaerts when he came up as a 20-year-old in 2013. But even then, Xander came up in a part-time role. He was playing, like, initially it was like 1 out of every 3 games, eventually like 2 out of every 3 games, and then all of a sudden he's yanking his starting job away in the infield in the middle of the playoffs. But Anthony's different. Like, he's come up and he's this kind of very unusual, transformative figure in a franchise who, like, was expected. He hit 5th in his big league debut and has only moved up in the lineup. Can you think of other parallels of players who had so much expectation and yet so much presence surrounding them at the time that they arrived in the big leagues?
I think one goes for me. Obviously, it was like a smaller market, but Matt Chapman, and he was way older. I think he was. So that's the thing. So it probably doesn't compare. But when Matt came up, it was like instant, like, oh, he's gonna play third and hit 5th or 6th every day. But like, he's our anchor at third base. This guy's gonna take our infield like over the top. And it was like the one thing that he did, like, defensively, was one thing that took the A's over the top at the time. I think that's a person that, like, and he was immediately a leader. Like, he was immediately a guy that had the radio and the clubhouse. He's immediately a guy that people turn to. So I think it's just that similar presence. I know obviously Romans was 4 years younger than Matt when he came up, but just from a similar sort of assurance of themselves. I think that's who sort of stands out to me. Trying to think of another one. Yeah, I think I haven't seen it, Alex. I have not seen it. I think most of the guys when come up, it's either like too fast for them, because when Campbell came up, it was like it almost seemed like it was he woke up in a dream, like, whoa, what's going on here? What's this? What's that? Oh, wait, come on. We get like chartered flights. What are those? Like, it just seemed like it was all too fast for him when he came up. Like, I know he had a really good first month, but Anthony just seems like, oh yeah, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Oh yeah, this is what we're supposed to be doing. It just seemed like the routine just kept going what it was, and I just can't really think of another guy who's like that. That's his age, because I haven't seen a 20 and 21-year-old come up like this in the big leagues in my time covering the sport really like that.
Yeah, no, it's such an interesting contrast that you raised, right? Because like Campbell, like very charming, like inexperience and innocence to everything that Campbell was doing. You're exactly right. Oh, I need a passport now, right? Like there's, like the idea of so much like eyes wide open, right? Like because this was very much a different world. Whereas like Anthony seems like he was he kind of was born with this with the sense of like, oh, this is exactly how it's all going to go, and so it's more confirmation of what he expected. And again, like it comes across as like without any sense of arrogance. I think that the other thing that's been striking has been the way that he's been comfortable being a public-facing person on the team and speaking for the team. Like his natural sensibilities are those, like when he's interviewed after games, like, oh, Roman, you just had your first walk-off. And he's like, first of all, it was thrilling that we had a team victory, right? Like he has like that natural, like it's wrong to say it, but I'm going to say it, like the Jeter gene. Right? Like he has the Jeter gene of being able to be in the big leagues as a 21-year-old and understanding what it means to be accountable on behalf of the team and to say things that reflect a team first perspective. And like, it was really cool. Like the other day when he got scratched because of the back spasms, the first thing that he said in updating his health status was, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Wilyer for having my back, and really like incredible job by him. It's who does that? Who has the court awareness to be able to think beyond, like, again, we talk about what we were like as 21-year-olds, Julian, and like, had a great time. I'm not sure that I was thinking that I had that same mentality of being able to be so thoughtful about the people who are around me.
Yeah, like I said, for me, it's just the overall like self-awareness. Like it just seems like he's not like, as we've been in clubhouses where you just like, okay, this guy's talking to me because it's a front, and like Roman's not the type of guy that I've imagined that will sort of go out of his way to sort of talk to you. But if he passes you, he says hello, right, and keeps moving. When he's at his locker, he's accessible. If you need him at any point, he's accessible. And I think with this, I mean, even him being between like Bregman and Duran, I think I wrote yesterday, I said, he uses his elbow space between them, but doesn't take up room in some way. But it's like, I'm here, my elbows are here, but like, you guys still have your space there, and we're good. Like, and it's never seemed, he doesn't necessarily seem like he's thinking about stepping on anybody's toes, but he's also in the back of his head knows that he's a rookie as well, right? It's like he knows how to strike that balance. And I'm trying to think, because most times you see that with guys whose dads were former big leaguers, right? Like you can see like guys like Bobby Witt who came up, and you just like, whoa, suddenly. I guess that's probably a comparison, right?
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah,
is Witt when he came up, and it's like, he didn't really have that steep, and now I know we're waiting for Roman to see what he ends up being, but like he really didn't have that steep like crash, that regression that you see with a lot of rookies. What we saw with like Casas and Campbell, and it's sort of, he competed, right? Like, and then the next year he sort of started to take off, but automatically you're like, okay, this is a kid who's like the son of a former big leaguer, and he was younger, and he immediately became a leader, and he immediately got the extension, and he immediately became one of the best players in the big leagues. Great. I'm not saying that Roman is Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt is like a freakish athlete on both sides.
Another level. Yeah.
Another level. It's another level. It's another level there, right? Like but just from a personality standpoint, it just seems those two seem to match from that perspective. Just like, this is what I'm here. This is what I'm supposed to do. But again, he's the son of a former big leaguer, right? Right? Like Roman, what's the blueprint for him?
Yeah.
no blueprint. Like it can't be as. I mean, your brothers and sisters, yes, but like, what else is it? I can't find it out. He just
Well,
seemed to figure it out on his own.
I guess that, like, the fact that he is close family friends, like, his parents were not did not have like significant athletic careers because they worked through high school, and so they were too busy to really have extracurriculars. But they did gravitate, and he did connect at an early point in life with the Holiday family, which that seems like there's that is telling, both in the fact that they gravitated to Roman, but also that Roman gravitated to them, and I think that that says something. So we've talked a lot about the Roman Anthony personality. We should probably just let Roman Anthony speak for himself when it comes to that. So after the break on 310 to left, we're going to come back and we are going to give you plenty of Roman Anthony at yesterday's press conference, talking about why he wanted to be a member of the Boston Red Sox for many years to come, with Julian McWilliams of CBS Sports. We're back.
310 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers, who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 310 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
Welcome back to 310 to Left, brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. We are back with Julian McWilliams of CBS Sportsline. And both Julian and I talked a lot to you about Roman Anthony, but we're going to let Roman speak for himself. So we have his press conference yesterday in discussing the 8-year, $130 million deal that he signed with the Red Sox that will keep him under team control through 2033 with a team option for 2034. Without further ado, here's Roman Anthony.
I want to thank, first and foremost, the Anthony family, Tony and Lori. Congratulations. Amazing moment for you guys. Thanks for raising such a special young man, an incredible baseball player. Leah, thanks for joining us today. And to Anthony Jr., congratulations. We are really grateful to John and Linda Henry, who are here, and Mike Gordon, president of Fenway Sports Group, and Tom Werner, our chairman, for making this possible, for giving the resources to this franchise to continue to invest in talent and getting us back to where we belong atop the American League East. So very, very excited about today. Roman, congratulations, and I'll turn it over to Brez.
Sure. Thanks, Sam. Today is a great day for the Boston Red Sox, and our hope is that it's a great day for the Anthonys. Want to thank Roman, Tony, and Lori, Leah, and Tony for entrusting the organization with Roman's future, and thank you to Roman's representatives at Frontline, Mark, Steve, Matt. Our conversations have been spirited and passionate, but always professional, always respectful. I think looking back, this was a long time in the making, but a great outcome for everybody involved. I want to thank John and Linda, Mike, Tom, Sam for supporting such an aggressive pursuit. I think the baseball industry has long known how talented Roman is as a baseball player, right? This is a guy who was the #1 prospect in the sport. We've seen the impact that he's had on our major league team in just over 150 at-bats. But I think those who know Roman best have come to really respect and appreciate the maturity, the even-keeled nature, the teammate and person that he is. And so when we think about the future of this organization, there's no question that it got brighter today. So congratulations to you, Roman, and thank you to you, and thank you to your family. And I know we've got something for Lori and Leah. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Roman.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say a special thanks to the Henrys, Mike, Tom, Sam, Brez, the whole entire front office, coaching staff, my teammates who are here today. I can thank so many people, my family who are here today, and my agents, and just everyone along, my life who has helped me get to where I am today. There's a long list of them. And, as we know, in this game, it takes a team. And, it took a team to get this done. And I couldn't think of a better city to play in for the next 8 to 9 years of my life. And I'm super excited. I want to thank, all the fans who show up every day and continue to support us regardless of the outcome. It's truly just a special place to play and a special place to show up every single day. So I couldn't be more excited for this and couldn't be more thankful for everyone in this room and everyone who's helped me get here today.
We'll now open it for questions. We'll start with questions for Roman. Once the questions for Roman have ended, we'll do a brief photo op, and then we'll continue with questions for Sam and Craig.
Roman, when did this start coming together?
Yeah, it was something that was quick. This process was the offer over, and for me as a player and as a person, and with my family and agency, this is a place that I want to be. There was no doubt about it. I came up through this org with so many of these people in this room and people who aren't in this room who helped me get here. And so when the offer came through, it was something that I wanted quick on, and there was no doubt that this is where I wanted to play baseball for a long time.
You've had talks with them in spring training. What was different about the conversations now? Both, I guess, in terms of where, how much did your performance change what the offer was, and how much did the experience playing in Boston change your outlook on what it would mean to be here for a long time?
Yeah, I think for me, back in the spring, I hadn't had any experience playing here yet. Didn't really know what to expect yet, and for me, it was just more of wanting to be here and getting a feel for the everyday lifestyle here, but at the same time knowing that, again, I came up through this org and always wanted to be here and always knew how great this city was and how passionate the city was. And then, you know, when I got to experience it and like Braz mentioned, you know, only being 150 at-bats in, I can tell this is where I want to be, and there's no doubt.
There are a number of escalators in this deal that will enhance the value based on how well you perform. How much of that was you being driven to kind of bet on yourself and your future performance?
Yeah, I believe in myself every single day, and you know, I don't know what the future holds, but I believe that, you know, I will be the best version of myself every single day. So for me, like I said, it was a deal that in a place that I want to be, and those escalators just give me a chance to continue to grind every day and help this team win and be the best version of myself that I can be each and every day.
There are quite a few of you guys under contract through 30 and beyond that.
Yeah, it's a special group. You know, I try not to look too far into the future, but and we're having a lot of fun playing good baseball. So just trying to stay present as best as possible. But it's super exciting when you talk about how young we are and the mix that we have, the great veteran guys that we have. And I'm excited, and knowing that in this process was those guys and grow with those guys. So it's super exciting.
You've become such a key piece of this team so quickly. It's only been not even 2 months. Have you been surprised with how seamlessly that this has kind of taken off for you in the early part of your career?
No, I mean, it's hard to say I was surprised. Like I said, even myself in every way, but I think I got to give credit to the staff we have here, the people we have here, my teammates. They made this process so much easier, and they make my life a whole lot, you know, hanging out with these guys and just having fun and looking forward to come to every day. It makes my life a whole lot easier, and it makes, you know, taking the field a whole lot easier when I'm taking it with guys who I just consider my best friends.
Roman, they invested in you, but you also invested in them. Based on your time in...
Yeah, I think just going back to when I was an 18-year-old kid who was freshly drafted and going through that process in high school, you know, meeting so many great individuals who still have a great impact on my life today, and obviously was a big to continue to see these to why, you know, I wanted to just continue to do this, and to show up and be with the same people every day is coming up through the mind where else I'd want to be.
Were there any decisions you could be waiting on?
I kept it pretty private. You know, again, we're playing such great baseball. I didn't want to be a distraction to anyone. I didn't want to put it on anyone else's plate. But, you know, again, I knew that this is where I wanted to be, and I'm having a blast, and I just wanted to continue that, like I said, without being a distraction. And then, you know, when they all found out, everyone was super happy. So it was awesome.
Was it hard to keep it like private, and you guys are so close, and to compartmentalize too with your own game, kind of trying to focus on what you're doing?
Yeah, I think for me it was always the main goal remained the same every single day. It was just show up and help this team win, and everything else will take care of itself. So yeah, for me it was just about, you know, winning was first, and showing up and being there for my teammates every day, and giving all I got every day was the main priority. And you know, I was blessed to, you know, get this opportunity along with it.
Aside from the idea that you get to continue playing in Boston, which you've made clear you value, how much do you value the idea of just not having to think about the financial component of the game for, you know, for the rest of the decade and more?
Yeah, it's definitely a great feeling. It's definitely some weight off your shoulders. But again, for me, that I wasn't too worried about it. For me, the main goal was to just show up every day and be the best version of myself and get better each and every day, and try to help this team win. And I think by doing that took care of everything else. And obviously now that this is done, it's even more so a reason to just go out and be the best version of myself and win baseball games.
In these early career deals and the kind of thinking and math that goes behind them, the guarantee up front versus maybe sacrificing some potential earning power once you would have reached free agency. How did you kind of balance those and ultimately come to make the decision of, yes, this is the deal you want?
Yeah, I wanted to be here. It was simple as that. I wanted to be in Boston. You know, winning in Boston is different, and you know, I haven't won anything yet. But for me, like over these last 2 months, the baseball we're playing, the fans, the way they show up every night, it's amazing. It's a place like no other. And for me, it was simple. I just wanted to be here. I wanted to play baseball in Boston for a long time.
You would have expressed after your call up that you were hoping to keep the focus on baseball. So what went into the decision to engage in discussions now rather than in the offseason?
Kind of just piggybacking off that last answer, just wanting to be here and knowing what I know now, and with 2 months of experience under my belt, and living in Boston, and being in this city, and the way that these fans are so connected to us as a team, and being with my teammates and this staff, and the front office down to everyone that shows up here every day. It's a special place, and it was a pretty simple decision for me. I wanted to be here.
Welcome back to 310 to Left, brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. So we just heard from Roman Anthony. Look, everyone understands that this is a remarkable talent. The idea that the Red Sox would have been interested in a long-term deal with him, not shocking. However, that did not make it a given that the Red Sox would pursue a deal with him at this time. They had tried unsuccessfully in spring training to negotiate with him. There had been an agreement, to the best of my understanding, at that time that they were not going to revisit negotiations in season. So what on earth propelled the Red Sox to decide that they were going to try to get a deal done, to get a deal done in the middle of the season? Julian and I are going to discuss in a minute. First, we're going to hear from Craig Breslow, Red Sox Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow, to address that subject. Why talk to Roman Anthony in the middle of the season when that hadn't necessarily been in the works?
Sure. I think the clearest way to answer that is that it was the responsible decision, in my view. We had someone who was very outspoken about wanting to be here and how much they enjoyed the city of Boston, the fan base, the opportunity to put on a Red Sox uniform every day. And from our end in baseball operations and inclusive of ownership, this was someone that we were willing to invest in. And so it got to the point where we had to make this effort. And it was either going to work or it wasn't, and it was going to happen pretty quickly, so it didn't become a distraction on the field. And I think both sides are incredibly excited about where we ended up. Negotiations are so unpredictable that there was a time in the last 24 hours where I thought this has a real chance of getting done. And there were multiple times in the last 24 hours where I was pretty confident that it wasn't going to. I think I keep going back to what Roman said about, it took a month and a half or 2 months for him to realize that this is the place that he wanted to commit to. The fan base, the stadium, the history, the organization, the people were people that he wanted to be connected to. And when that is the case, there's always a chance for a deal, so long as both sides, view this as fair.
So respecting that, your assessment of Roman hasn't changed in these 150 at-bats, how would you describe the impact that he's made as a 21-year-old at the start of his career? Do you step back to kind of give context to what's happening there?
Well, I think it's special. I think it's remarkable, and I'm not sure that there's a metric that we should, look at uniquely and believe that it perfectly captures the impact that he's had. We can look at his contribution, whether that's WAR or any of those. We could look at our team record, but I think that we've talked a lot over the last couple of months about this athletic, dynamic team that we're looking to build, and Roman suits that perfectly. And if you look at the success that the team has enjoyed, that kind of lines up almost perfectly with with his debut. I think you start to see a clearer picture of the impact that he's had.
So there you hear it, Julian. I'm interested in your perspective. Are you surprised that the Red Sox made the effort to open negotiations with Roman Anthony in the middle of the season?
No, I'm not. But I am surprised that Roman Anthony signed it, right? I didn't think this would be something that – I thought he'd be one of those guys that was like, I'm going to take this the full way, sort of like how Mookie did. I thought the Campbell deal was something that it's like, okay, it made sense for Campbell, right? I mean, we talk about Alex, he only played 150 minor league games, and all of a sudden he's here in the big league, and it's like, here's $60 million. They're like, whoa. But for Roman, based on what you saw, based on what you talked about, Alex, for years with him, I still remember the time in the press box where you're like, have you been watching this Roman Anthony kid? And he was in Greenville. And I'm like, no, not really. He's like, oh, he's putting up pretty interesting stats. Get his own bases high, slugging, yada. I'm like, okay. Then all of a sudden, 3 years later, he's here and he's the biggest thing in baseball. So kudos to you on that. But I'm more so looking at the I guess it's the long term. I'm not the guy he shouldn't have signed it, right? I'm not saying that, but I was surprised. Whoa, he actually agreed to an extension. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, to me, the surprise is that it was in season because, there had been the negotiations that had taken place in spring training. The Red Sox had put forth multiple offers in spring training. Roman Anthony had expressed openness at that time. I didn't think that this was, I thought that there was always going to be, there was always a kind of mutual interest in the idea of a long-term deal. I think that he had never expressed an abiding desire to be well, I'm going to, figure out exactly what I'm worth and then have the market validate that. But I just thought that you would wait until the offseason to have the conversation, particularly when you saw what would happen with Rookie of the Year voting, right? You would get to a point where if he finishes in the top 2 of Rookie of the Year voting, then he would be potentially eligible for free agency after 2030. If he does not, then he's under team control through at least 2031. And so I thought that would be an important framing mechanism to figure out the negotiations. And then there's the distraction element, right? Everything is going great for the team. They're winning. Roman Anthony is playing really well. Are you willing to roll the dice a little bit on negotiations in order to figure out whether or not to take this chance on getting a long-term deal done? Particularly, gosh, I imagine that everyone was fried in the Red Sox front office at that point, right?
Yeah.
They had just gotten through the trade deadline on July 31st. There's that conversation in the industry about okay, now let everyone kind of catch their breath and reintroduce themselves to their families. Nope. By Sunday, August 3rd, the Red Sox were firing off. A proposal to Roman Anthony that I think was kind of unexpected.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I mean, I didn't take into account the trade deadline when you take into account the moves that were trying to be made and weren't made, and the deflation of that, because I mean they were kind of deflated coming out of the trade deadline. I mean it was pretty evident. But the fact that you're working a deal while also trying to put together a playoff run and get Dustin May, I know it's more operational. I mean, no, it's more like on-field stuff, but trying to get Dustin May right, trying to get Steven Matz acclimated, trying to figure out what your pitching staff and your catching situation is going to look like with Narvaez out, possibly being out. I don't know if that's serious or not, but just all those things included, yeah, that's a lot to tackle. And let's just say just 1.5, like a week and a half.
Yeah, well, and that's part of the reason why it had to be a very atypical process, right? Like, you know, the proposal was made by the Red Sox with the explicit sense that we'll do the, you know, we would love to engage, but we have to be willing to engage very quickly. And so you basically had the Red Sox making a proposal on Sunday afternoon, I believe, and then the negotiations took place over the course of the rest of Sunday, throughout the day on Monday. Then Roman Anthony's reps fly up to Boston for face-to-face negotiations, for multiple rounds of face-to-face negotiations on Tuesday, and the deal was done before midnight, following the second game of the Red Sox Royals series. Like that doesn't usually happen that quickly, particularly given that this was a pretty different offer than the one that the Red Sox had been presenting in spring training. But I do think that a lot of it suggests like how much the Red Sox really, really wanted Roman Anthony to be a member of the Red Sox for a long period of time. And of course, it also reflects on, like, it's pretty wild to hear Roman Anthony talk about having so much appreciation for what it is to play in Boston as a result of 2 months here, right? Like to hear the way that he talks about, like, yeah, like this is clearly something pretty special, pretty extraordinary. And this is something that I never don't want to be a part of.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, again, like for me, it's just like you have those guys that are, like it said, this is like the Jeter gene. I think it's certain guys that are meant to play at certain places where you look at like, oh, he's the guy. Like when you said when Xander came up, you sort of like a part of you saying, how is this kid 20 years old in the middle of a World Series and being able to hold his own and contribute to winning? And you're like, oh, like he's the guy, right? Like I think so when you see Anthony, you sort of understand that he's the guy. The Red Sox understand he's the guy. And I don't think particularly players just come around from that overall just get it. I don't think there's many players that do this. Players play here, players play in New York, players play in Philly, but there's those rare people who just like come into those situations that are drafted by the organization that take on the personalities of the teams and cities that they're playing in. And I think Roman sort of represents that as well. Alex, you mentioned one thing, and I just kind of went back to it, but you mentioned the power. And for me, it reminded me of like, and I looked up, like, it's crazy. Like Machado was 19 years old when he came up.
Yeah, wild.
But like his first year, 7 homers, second year, 14, 12. But like one of those years, he led the league in doubles, which was like 51. I believe it was the year he had 12 homers, 51 doubles. He had still had and then the next year, all of a sudden, 35 homers, right? So it's like the double, and Roman already has like 15 doubles. So you're like, okay, like the power's there. That's the last thing you should be worried about. He's handling like big league pitching. He's competing at a high level. He's getting his doubles. But yeah, I just had to go back to that, and I'm like, Machado was 19 when he came up, and like it's absurd. But just to see the jump from how doubles to seemingly correlate to power as you get older, I found that to be a little bit interesting. I know it's a little off topic, but I just had to get
no. It's a great point. Like there's a long-standing baseball belief that power is the last tool to come. If you have a good sound offensive approach, if you have a good swing, then you'll be able to figure out how to get to it. That's the Red Sox have training that's meant to kind of get the ball, be able to get the ball in the air, right? Like, to focus on contact point and also bat path in order to be able to turn those very, very hard ground balls. And we already see see Roman Anthony repeatedly like smashing ground balls through the infield because he hits them so hard, right? So that's why you have a high batting average on balls in play. It's not always just dumb luck and subject to random variation. Sometimes it's you are ripping the ball through the infield. But over time, you're going to see him hit the ball more in the air. And Alex Cora even referred to it on the game after, following the game after Anthony signed the extension, saying, you know, Anthony flied out 3 times to right field, and that included a 380-foot flyout to right, in which Mike Yastrzemski made a twisting catch along the warning track on a ball that would have projected to be a home run in the other 29 parks. So that does make it interesting to think about how is Fenway going to affect Roman's power, although obviously he'll be able to take advantage of left field as this wonderful all-fields hitter. But also, I think to your point, like you imagine a little bit more strength, natural strength gains that occur between 21 and 22, 21 and 23 years old, and that ball is probably out of the park in a few years.
Yeah, like I mean, as big of a guy he is, like you're like, oh, he's gonna get a lot stronger, right? It's just you just see it. He's just gonna be one of those like big, sort of strong, massive, girthy guys. I think in some sense, you just see it. I mean, it's kind of like he has that frame, and he's tall, and yeah, he's gonna be just fine.
Yeah, well, I suppose that it's going to be Roman Anthony when you can be referred to as having the potential for a girthy frame, and that represents a compliment rather than an insult. My children probably refer to me as having a girthy frame at times. It is not meant with such good spirit, Julian. You and I will digest what just happened in the exchange of adjectives. We'll come back after break, and we will share some thoughts about the state of the Red Sox as they enter this very interesting series in San Diego against Machado, against Xander Bogaerts, against Nick Pivetta.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll be back right after the break.
3:10 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 3:10 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
And we are back at 3:10 to left, brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. I am back with Julian McWilliams of CBS Sportsline. Julian, where are the Red Sox at? You know, they've obviously, boy, this has been a very interesting period, right? It felt like it was a somewhat disappointing, you know, anticlimactic trade deadline, as you put it, like that there was that they seemed a little bit deflated after that, and yet the team just keeps winning. Obviously, you know, rolling over the Astros over the weekend, that was interesting, followed by taking 2 out of 3 from the Royals. What is this team like? Are we now? Has it now? Or is it kind of the self-perpetuating motion machine where like they've just gained so much steam that this is who they are, or is there a kind of is there a cliff lurking?
I can't. Every time I see the cliff lurking, it just seems to flatten out, and they just keep on walking. Right? I think it just seems, and cliffs don't flatten out, but they just don't seem to fall
Magical
off.
cliffs do, I guess. You know,
yeah. So I don't know. It just seems like it's just like the earth keeps extending itself for them, and then they just keep on rolling. Look, obviously they're a resilient bunch that believes in themselves, right? And I think that's for one. And at this time, I do think they're contenders, right? And I think they're contenders for one, because they've played well, and two, because teams around them have sort of, it's just so much parity around that you really don't know. Like, I even call like the Cleveland Guardians, who have 2 guys on paid leave for potentially betting on games. And they're now, you look up, they're 59-55, and you're just like, okay, are they contenders as well? And to a lesser degree, yes. I think the Red Sox have done well what they've done well at. I think Alex Cora has done a tremendous job of getting the most out of guys, using mixing and matching, using what he has. But I will say this, though, I think the catching situation, if that is something for Narvaez, that's something that sort of concerns me if I were the Red Sox, because catching is such a tough position to come by, to where you can actually find guys who can do the job on a daily basis. He's done it really well. And it just reminded me of the Red Sox's depth of, hey, you're one injury away from Trevor Story being David Hamilton, or Alex Bregman potentially being Abraham Toro, or, you know, now maybe Narvaez being Connor Wong, or Garrett Crochet not being replaced if something happens to him, right? I think depth is always important, particularly at this time of the year. But if they can stay healthy, I think they've gotten on enough heaters to where they can maintain and compete enough to get into one of those wild card spots, or maybe even, I don't know, even the division at this point. We don't know, right? Because I'm looking up at a Toronto team, and I'm like, they didn't really pull away on their run differential as much when you give space to run differential. I don't know, but like, it's weird that a team's in first place before this series with the Colorado Rockies, and they're like plus 36 in run differential. I'm just like, how's that possible? Possible in some sense, but they're sort of a team that's played well. They obviously have the pitching, Bassett, you know, Bieber if he comes back, Barrios and Gosman. Obviously, they've all done tremendously well this year. So I think if you're looking at it in totality, yeah, the Red Sox have a shot, man, and good on Fenway, because it's been buzzing as of late in a way I haven't seen in years. And I think this is what's needed in this summer. And, you know, there were so many summers where we're like, can you just get us to just a valuable and fun September? Can we just have a fun and valuable September? And I think finally we're going to have a fun and valuable September, to where it's not like the Red Sox are 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. The Red Sox are 3.5 games out of a wild card spot. One of the things that I used to always sort of just joke at last year was when it just seemed like after every game when the Red Sox remember the American League like went to crap in September. There were so many losses. I think the Minnesota Twins just dropped the ball, went 9-18.
Absolutely spiraled, and haven't been able to get out of it. Yeah.
And we're not able to get out of it. The Royals, like, that was another team that was just not playing well. And then the Red Sox were not playing well. But then Cora's like quote after every game, we didn't gain ground, but we did not lose ground. And that seemed to be something that was said all the time after every game. Now, I'm not sure if it will actually be that conversation, because the Red Sox seem to be able to put together wins better. They're playing better at home. They've gone on streaks that they haven't gone on. Like, they struggled at home for years. And I think their defense is different. Alex talked about the left side of the infield. that's a true thing. So yeah, I'm looking at this team, and I certainly think it's a difference from last year. It feels a little bit different, and I think we could potentially be in line for some playoff baseball in Boston this year.
Yeah, I will say you mentioned the run differential. It was funny because the Blue Jays seemed like they were like barely skating above water, and it's like, how is this happening? And then they got to the Rockies, and then all of a sudden they're like a plus 55 run differential, and so they're right there with the Red Sox again almost. And it's like, oh right, have to discount for what it means to play the Rockies for a few games. That changes what the runs scored and runs against looks like. But your point about the Narvaez injury is a very interesting one. I think back to 2006 when Jason Varitek suffered a meniscus injury, I believe the day after the trade deadline, and was basically out for almost the rest of the year. And the Red Sox ended up actually spiraling. They'd been in a pretty good postseason position up to that point, and the drop off was extreme. It will be interesting to see whether or not if Narvaez has to go on the injured list, will the Red Sox call up someone from AAA? They just signed Chadwick Trump. Would they call up Seppi Zavala, who's an experienced catcher? Would they go out and sign someone who Alex Cora knows very well in Martin Maldonado, who just got DFA'd and is now a free agent? So there are some different roster things to consider. But Julian, as we get close to wrapping up, I want you to think ahead. This is a fun weekend. San Diego, great baseball team, super talented. What is the thing that you are most interested in seeing over the course of the next 3 games in San Diego?
Look, everybody's talked about San Diego and the team that they went out and got O'Hearn, Laureano, Miller, all those guys, and I think they're a team that's a real threat in the NL West. What I'm looking for, I'm just looking to see how this team competes, right? How they compete on the road. I think on the road has been the one place where, ironically, because the other years it seemed to flip, where they've struggled, where they've struggled on the road a little bit this year. So I'm fascinated to see how they hold up in these next 2 series on the road in these people's places against playoff teams that actually did make some moves at the deadline. I think we're back to the deadline talk of, well, these are the teams that made the moves and you didn't. So I think this is, I wouldn't say it's a pivotal 2 series, I think, coming up, and especially this one this weekend. But I think I'm looking just to see how these guys compete in the grand scheme of things and how they come out of this. And I think that's where the talk can start about hey, okay, right, is this team sort of real or not as we get through August? Because August has always bit the Red Sox.
August is different. August is a different month, always across Major League Baseball. But it's the Red Sox are poised in a very interesting spot as we get into the heart of this month. So, Julian, thank you so much for joining. It was great to see you. Tom, Karen, and I are going to be back next week with more episodes of 310 to Left. But Julian, have a great time at the conference, and look forward to seeing you soon down the road.
Thanks, Alex.
And thanks to all of you for joining for 310 to Left.